Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, we're here to discuss the third World PetroCoal Congress and Exhibition that is to be organized between the 15th and 17th of February 2013 at the Convention Center at New Delhi City Center, which all of you are familiar with, at Parliament Street. We've done other events also. I think a very successful event last year, thanks to the efforts of Mr. Bora and Dr. Garg. This year, again, we are attempting the same event, though I think it's going to be even more difficult given the general state of the sector, other than, I think, coal. But coal is everything is, of course, in the hands of the public sector undertaking at the moment, other than some private traders who are active, but I don't think how much imports they've carried out. But it is certainly a buoyant sector. So the efforts, I think, of the steering committee and the organizing committee will have to be very, very sincere and intense, I think. Let's be very clear about it. It's not going to be an easy task. We've got to see how do we make the event interesting for people to attend, what interests them and not really us. And I think that is where we need some sound ideas to come. We're open to all kinds of suggestions. We requested, I do not know why, by Dr. Garg to be the chairman of this steering committee. I at least deserve it, but since he has asked me, I think I have to carry out this task. But we've got to start planning on the academic part of it, the exhibition part of it, and try and find some sponsors also. I had mentioned to Dr. Garg last time also, and Mr. Bora also agreed with me. We were both very clear on it that this is a non-profit organization. It is not a commercial venture like some other commercial exhibitions, etc., which are put up. And I think almost everybody sitting in this room is doing it just for the love of it. We want to be very transparent in our functioning. We want all accounts to be cleared and placed before this august body, and whoever's contributing would like to know something about it, I think Dr. Garg will be very happy to declare everything in the open, because most of us have been in responsible positions and we are still active. Some of us, we would like everybody who's cooperating with us to be very clear that yes, this is a laudable effort, we need to push it to the best we can. At the same time, it's a non-profit venture, and we want to do the best out of all the money that we can. Welcome, Balyan-san. I have addressed some letters to some of our senior colleagues in the sector, requesting them to agree to be on the steering committee, and we earmarked some names for the organizing committee. Dr. Garg will share the list with you. If you think somebody is left out, please feel free to suggest what we can do. As far as the participation is concerned, I think we would certainly like some big names to be here in the conference, because we keep hearing each other in our views. We want people from overseas to be here, some authorities, particularly in some of the areas which are of current interest, trading, looking into the future for whether for business or for concepts and prospects. There I would request Dr. Balyan to kindly take a lead and suggest whom he can bring. I would say at least two personalities if you can bring some leading lights, one on each day, so that it becomes a highlight of the event. We can also similarly ask Jens to kindly let us know whom you can get across from Europe, and maybe with the European Commission can agree to sponsor some experts across, but we will, please sir. Avasti sir, please come. Yes. That is, as far as the some of the invites are concerned. I would request also our expert here, Sir Avinash Chandra. He has enough contacts also, and maybe we should get some leading experts, because let's give it a character. If you call it a third world PetroCoal Congress, let it have a sufficient smattering of some global participation. If we can think of some Australian contacts, we'll certainly try and see. I've had some interactions with some Australian coal companies. Maybe I can ask them also to participate, something like Rio Tinto, etc. They're looking at future markets in India. And I honestly feel that we will not be able to manage the task that is before us through Coal India alone. My very honest assessment is I've seen the process ever since I was with the Petroleum Ministry in the Energy Coordination Committee meetings. The PM was trying his best, but we could not push through an act which could replace the existing act which had nationalized. That time it was the left which was opposing, so allies of the government. And today I think the writ of the government in terms of the UP alliance is so fragmented and fragile that I don't think anything earth-shaking which can annoy any strong segment is going to come through. That's my honest assessment in the matter. So for the last 2-3 years I've been telling whoever I could say that, okay, please don't touch the present legislation. Try and give mine development and operation leases through open tender, 20-25 year leases under Coal India or under the other public sector undertakings who've got some coal mines. We have to set a target, and I really believe that there is a lot of business lying here for prospecting, for preparing mine development plans. And today some of you may have read that the government is thinking of forming a joint project committee which will give, particularly for the energy projects, kind of one window clearance, or at least one table clearance, if not a window. It will be a discussion where environment and some of the other related ministries and the related energy ministry, they will all be sitting together to give whatever clearances have to be given. But that again will require somebody to come and work on those mines. We've been working only on open cast mines post-nationalization. That's why there have been very few accidents. But at the same time, we've not been able to go deep down into the seams and extract all the coal that we needed to extract. We will have to go in for underground mining. We'll have to go in heavily for mechanized mining. If the quantum of the mined coal has to be increased. I expect that in the coming months, there would be renewed interest in all this. Some prospectors had wasted their time trying to get some mines on a negotiated basis with some state undertakings. That is not possible in the current environment. So we've got to be very clear about the business opportunities, and maybe in the coming 2-3 months something will crystallize. And there should be a good prospect for world-class companies to come and do operations in India. And again, I would say, just as we did in the equipment manufacturing in the power sector, I think the fastest route will be through a JV between an Indian counterpart and a foreign expert, because that expedites the procedural issues, the interfaces at local level. Particularly in the coal sector, the interfaces are very, very localized and in sometimes very difficult areas, where a foreign party may find it extremely difficult to handle every issue on its own. So why I'm dilating on this aspect is that I think this is an area which each one of us should try and see if there's the people who are looking at that kind of a proposition. And we might suggest that we could have some business sessions on that. The other is also from the business participation angle. I'm talking, this is nothing which is unknown or is new in the sector, but for purposes of what is investment, what investment is possible. The other, I think, is washeries, that's coal beneficiation. That's another very big business that is awaiting, because if you can shed about 15% of the ash, you need that much less wagon requirement for movement of coal. And that's a huge number if we talk about 15-20%. Heavy ash. You see, in fact, all the Mahanadi coal, etc., the newer coal that we are getting, we have to be prepared for anything between 45 to 50% ash. So you're very right, all technologies which are associated with this. I think that's something as far as the coal sector is concerned. As far as the petroleum sector is concerned, I think from what I hear and perceive, the present methodology of the NELP is, of course, likely to undergo a change, moving on to royalty and tax sharing regimes as opposed to the present expenditure set-offs. That position should hopefully also be clear by that time, and maybe it would be an appropriate time for us to get somebody from the petroleum side to come and explain what the new methodology of investment in this sector is going to be. Then, of course, we have the shale, which we've had two very eminent presentations by Mr. Avinash Chandra and also by Mr. Suresh Mathur in recent times. In fact, the energy think tank and Petrofed are in the process of formulating some propositions for consideration of the government that a policy should be in place soon. But then again, with this, there are the issues of water and other environmental concerns, which I think people claim that they have now been overcome, in the sense that better chemicals or less harmful chemicals are being used, which have been cleared in the US, or in the process of being cleared at least. Maybe those issues can be thrown out so that we are able to offer some kind of a knowledge base to those who are knowledgeable on the subject, and can go around and counter the arguments of the ever available and growing uh, so-called, within inverted commas, environmental protection brigade, which finds it useful business to go and oppose anything that is going to take place for good or bad reasons. But be that as it may, the environment is going to be a very major concern in the coming years. We can't wish it away. And media finds it a very convenient subject for putting out in public debates and controversies, because it increases the TRPs also of all the channels. So, but I think we've got to build a whole cadre of people. That's where I intend speaking to some of our chiefs of ONGC and IOC, HPCL, BPCL, that within an organization we've got to create people who have the answers to some of these environmental issues that are built up. And I had done that in the power sector when we were bringing out the new legislation in 2003. In fact, we had road shows all over the country, but we said no road show will be done through any advertising agency or something. It has to be done only by the staff of the PSUs who will have common material. They were trained, they were to answer those issues. And we could even prepare some compendiums. Of course, this is a task which probably PPAC or DGH or somebody else would be doing, that you prepare questions, answers to those issues. So at least the sector people are aware of all this and are able to stall some of these debates in an intelligent manner, which are going negative to investments or further works. So that's where I think we can provide some kind of a forum and platform for people to come and talk. We'll have to talk to the ministry that if they are changing the regimes, then this is what they need to bring. What are the issues? Let us, those of you who are in the thick of it, can find out what are the issues that have come up which are counter to what we want to do, and what are the answers to that. Let's put that across. If somebody from the media even wishes to come and question those things, maybe we can call them also in one or two sessions. Let's see what they say, but we have to prepare with the answers in advance. There's no point in getting swamped over by them. But on the other hand, you see, the option is that we put across a very bland kind of a conference or a meeting, which even if you attend or do not attend, you could as well have sat at home and glossed through a summary of the proceedings. I think it's only an interaction, a healthy debate, which leaves a lasting impression and is convincing to an intelligent mind whose windows are open to thoughts, because after all he is reading everything in the papers and the press, and he is looking for the appropriate answers. So this consensus building, at least on some of these issues, we've got to encourage. And I think the issue of substitution of liquids with gas is another issue which has been engaging the attention of some of our experts. Mr. Suresh Mathur as well as I think Avinashi, they've both done some calculations based on BTU values and whether it is possible to switch, what are the ramifications of that, should the fertilizer industry move in that direction, should some part of probably the automobile section move in that direction. There's again renewed talk of remunerative days for ethanol. Particularly you see when The oil prices are certainly not coming, I think, below $100. So whether ethanol again gets a boost, would somebody from Brazil be willing to come and talk? And there are, I mean, people within the Indian industry, I think like Renuka Sugars, etc., who have, I think Hindustan also, Valiant Saab, I think they'd also, Hindustan had put in a very good bid, I recollect. I think 17 rupees a litre or something when we called for bids in 2006, the first time. Of course, the Maharashtra lobby is there. So if we can think of such sessions, I'm just trying to brainstorm some issues which I thought, will be able to keep the audience interest alive and the business interest alive. Because it's not going to be entirely an intellectual party. It has to have a very practical side to it also, that those who want to come and invest in sending delegates and participants, they must get some meat out of it. They're not only interested in listening to fuddy-duddies like us. Yes, we have the time to sit and plan these things, but ultimately, people who are in the thick of it and who have the money and who've got to put their money somewhere, and people who are working in labs or analyzing the issues at a more active level, we're only providing a platform. And these, I think, are some of the thoughts that I wish to put across to you. I would now be requesting Bora Saab to give us his views, and he's had the experience of running the show last time, so I think his practical views would be very relevant. Then we will have a presentation of accounts quickly, and Dr. Garg's views, Avasthi Saab, and a quick overview, and then I think half an hour we want discussions. Please, sir.